The Diary of an African Husband, Episode 1, The Wallet Wars. Kunle opened his diary with a dramatic sigh, tapping his pen against the page. "Dear Diary," he began, his voice already filled with a touch of humor. "Today was a battle. A true war between the wallet, the wife, and a football ticket that cost more than my dignity. Let me tell you how it all went down." He leaned back in his chair, eyes reflecting the chaos of the day. "It started this morning like most mornings. Ada had her game face on. You know, that look she gets when she's ready to conquer the world. And maybe a bit of me, too." Ada walked into the kitchen, her steps firm and purposeful. She held a grocery list in her hand, like a commander holding a battle plan. "Kunle," she began, her tone both loving and authoritative, "I've made a list. Please, no distractions. We need the essentials. Don't get sidetracked with unnecessary purchases." Kunle looked up from his phone, already distracted by the latest football news. "Essentials, yes. I hear you, Ada." He was so accustomed to her controlling the shopping that he barely glanced at the list. He'd promised to stick to it. No random snacks or impulsive buys. She gave him a knowing look. "Kunle, I mean it this time. Stick to the list." Then she handed him the list with the intensity of a drill sergeant. Kunle took the list and shoved it into his pocket, trying to look confident. "I got this," he muttered under his breath, walking out of the door with exaggerated determination. The market was bustling, as always. The sounds of vendors calling out their wares, the smell of fresh produce mixing with street food, and the sight of shoppers haggling over prices created the perfect storm of temptation. Kunle walked down the aisles, squinting at the list. Tomatoes. Check. Eggs. Check. Flour. Check. Everything was going well, at least for the first 5 minutes. But then he heard a familiar voice from a distance. "Oga, come buy fresh tomatoes. Only the best in the market, just for you." Kunle turned and saw his favorite tomato vendor waving at him with a big smile. And right beside her stall, he spotted something that made his heart race. A man selling football tickets. His brain tried to stop him, but his body was already moving toward the booth. "I'll just have a look," Kunle told himself, but deep down, he knew he was lying. The vendor grinned. "Chelsea versus Liverpool, Oga. Don't miss this opportunity. Get your tickets now before they sell out." Kunle glanced back at the tomatoes. "I'll get them later," he muttered, already pulling out the money. Before he knew it, Kunle had handed over a chunk of the cash for 2 tickets. "It's worth it," he thought. "A little fun, a little break." He walked away with a grin on his face, already imagining the game, the excitement, the adrenaline. It was going to be a glorious day. Kunle returned home, bags in hand, but with a slightly nervous look in his eyes. His excitement from the football tickets was slowly replaced by the reality of what was about to happen. Ada's discerning gaze awaited him in the living room, her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. "So, Kunle," she began, the tone in her voice calm but filled with the unmistakable weight of authority. "Where are the rest of the groceries?" Kunle smiled sheepishly, attempting to deflect. Ada, you won't believe it. The market was so crowded, and I had to bargain for everything. It was chaos. But don't worry, I got everything on the list." Ada's eyebrow arched. "Everything?" Kunle opened the bags and quickly started pulling out random items, tomatoes, eggs, flour, things that seemed to check out. But then, as he reached for the last bag, the truth was about to come out. Ada's eyes narrowed. "Kunle, where is the chicken I asked for?" Kunle froze. He had completely forgotten to buy the chicken. "Ah, well, you see, there was this vendor, and she was selling the juiciest chicken. I asked for it on the list, Kunle." "I know, but... and the rice?" Kunle nervously looked around, realizing how much he had failed. "Ah, well, there was a little incident with rice prices. But look, I got you. I got you football tickets." He held up the tickets triumphantly, flashing them like a trump card. Ada's eyes widened, and then she let out a short laugh. It wasn't a funny laugh. It was a laugh that Kunle recognized as the beginning of an argument. "You spent our money on football tickets?" Kunle, now caught in the web of his own decisions, smiled weakly. "It was for a good cause. Chelsea's playing, Ada. You know how much I love them." Ada folded her arms. "So, you love football more than food? More than our family?" Kunle's smile faded. "Ada, you know I love you and the kids. But sometimes a man needs a break. Just a small break." Ada crossed her arms. "Fine, Kunle. Since you've been so generous with your money, you're cooking tonight." Kunle's face turned pale. "Cooking? Ada, you know I'm not cut out for this." "Oh, I know," Ada said with a sly smile. "But this time you're cooking. You bought the tickets, now cook the food." Kunle stood in the kitchen, staring at the ingredients in front of him. The rice was already boiling over, the stew bubbling in an uncooperative pot. His face was drenched in sweat as he tried to salvage the meal. Maybe if I add some more salt, Kunle muttered to himself. Kunle, that's not how you make stew. Ada's voice echoed from the doorway. Kunle turned around in panic. I'm doing my best. I swear. When dinner was finally served, it was nothing short of a disaster. The rice was burnt to a crisp, the stew was too salty, and the chicken, well, it was an experiment that should never have left the kitchen. Ada looked at the plate, and then back at Kunle. This is a new level of failure, even for you, she said, trying her best not to laugh. Kunle slumped in his chair, defeated. I'm sorry, Ada. I didn't mean for it to turn out like this. Ada took a bite of the burnt rice, made a face, and then burst out laughing. Kunle, you really are something else. Kunle smiled weakly. I guess I deserve this. Later that night, Kunle sat down at his desk, opening his diary once more. Dear Diary, he began, his voice filled with humor despite the chaos. I've learned 3 important lessons today. 1. Never, ever lie to Ada. 2. Football tickets are not the answer to all of life's problems. And 3. Cooking is a skill I clearly lack. He closed the diary with a sigh and looked at the pile of dirty dishes in the sink. The war may be over, but I don't think the battle's won. From the other room, Ada called out, Kunle, don't forget, you're braiding our daughter's hair this weekend. Kunle groaned. Not again, Ada. Please. But deep down, he knew it was only just the beginning.